We are live.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. It is Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. This is the regular weekly meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners, our first meeting during the summer of 22. All three commissioners are present. That constitutes a quorum. First up, Employee Recognition Life-Saving Award presentation by Sheriff Curtis Landers.
Good morning, Chair Hall and Commissioners. For the record, I am Curtis Landers, Lincoln County Sheriff. I'm here today with Deputy Hugh Smith, and who has done another amazing job as he does every single day. And I know he doesn't like this public recognition, but we're going to
too bad
a little bit because it's so important. So I'm going to read a little citation, a little blurb of what happened and how we came to this point. So on the afternoon of February 13th, 2022, while Deputy Smith was in booking, he heard a gurgling noise coming from a booking cell. He immediately responded to the cell and requested assistance from additional staff members. He used the office-issued noose cutter to remove the blanket that had been tightly wrapped around the neck of one of the individuals in custody and booking there. The custody's face was beginning to turn purple. They were unresponsive and shaking once the blanket was removed. Deputy Smith continued to provide necessary medical aid until the custody was awake and aware of what had transpired. And the custody then began to cry and scream at Deputy Smith that they just wanted to die and that we should have let it happen. The actions that Deputy Smith took during this incident speak to his character and dedication to the profession. Had he not reacted to his prior training and quick actions not been administered, the outcome for this individual would have been much different. And I think more importantly, just that instinct to hear something going on in a cell that just wasn't right, and not just to dismiss it as something that's just normal and go and check on it, just amazing. And so a very well done job. We have a couple of things here. We have the life-saving pen that we issued. This is actually Deputy Smith's second one. So we actually put a little star on there to recognize it's the second life-saving pen that he has done. Again, I think it's just that instinct and knowing when to do it. And then nice little acrylic to keep it on. So thank you. Yeah, so again, thank you very much.
Casey, do you want a picture with all of us? I think we should do that. Yeah.
Sure.
Just a time.
Let's make him as uncomfortable as possible.
Lighting and makeup on
Right here. Okay, you guys ready? 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Yes,
please.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Congratulations and
Thank you.
Job well done.
Next, we have new hire introductions, and who's going to be handling that today? Is it Jaylene?
Do we? Isn't
Well,
that
it
the first
says
of the
so
month?
on the
New
agenda.
hire
Wait a minute.
introduction.
Yeah, but
Oh,
normally
okay.
we don't have new hire introductions in the middle of the month.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's typical. That should be scheduled for the 6th, commissioners.
Okay. We move on to adoption of the consent calendar, and these are routine items discussed at previous board meetings. One thing we might call attention to, and again, this is really typical at this time of year. Several resolutions making final adjustments in the fiscal year 21-22 budget in preparation for wrapping up, closing the books on this year and starting our new fiscal year on July 1st. Also, maybe I should call out, we've already approved this, and now we'll be recording the new memorandum of agreement between the Board of Commissioners and the Lincoln County Fair Board, which provides provisions for the appointment of additional Fair Board members. And the three of us who have served on the board since 2009, myself, retired Public Works Director for the county, Jim Beisman, former Executive Director of the Oregon Coast Council for the Arts, Frank Geltner, and we all accepted one-year appointments to the Fair Board in 2009. So I tell people, it's not going to be, for the new generation, it's not going to be like this, not going to be like the Hotel California that you can check in but never leave. Are there additional items that staff or commissioners would like to highlight? Not.
I'll
Oh,
make a
go-
motion to adopt the consent calendar.
I'll
Thank you.
second it.
Thank you. Moved and seconded to adopt the consent calendar. All please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. No public hearing today. And our first decision action item is resolution recommendations to BOEM regarding offshore wind energy. And Commissioner Jacobson, you have worked with others in putting this together, and I would invite you to do an initial presentation prior and then board discussion.
Yeah, so last week we had Bob Etter from our Fishermen Involved in Natural Energy come and present a letter from our FINE committee, which is our advisory committee, as well as a draft resolution. There was some kind of minor things that needed to be corrected on that resolution. I think a copy of that is in the board packet now. So this resolution basically just directs staff to send a letter to the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM, which is the federal agency in charge of offshore wind siting outside of 3 nautical miles, as well as a CC, so the Oregon Department of Land Conservation Development and Oregon Department of Energy, OE. And the content of the letter is essentially what is in the resolution.
Any questions, comments?
Well, I have a couple of suggestions, I guess. I asked to see this resolution so I would have time to review it. One of my concerns is I think this effort needs to be collaborative. And again, I just saw this resolution as I sat down here this morning. So as I read through it quickly, I would ask that maybe a couple of words be added under number 1, second sentence. This process would be a robust, scientifically driven, collaborative process. I'd like the word collaborative added. Again, I think it's important that it be collaborative. And then just for clarity on number 4, it says this may require, I think this expectation provides some clarity. So I would add the request that those 2 words be added to the resolution, in which case I think it's certainly an important document.
Commissioner Jacobson, thoughts on those 2 edits?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Commissioner Hunt, would you be comfortable if we adopted it with those 2
Yes,
provisions? Because I do believe the comments back to BOEM and their public comment process are due the 28th. So I think it would be good for us to get those in.
yeah,
So,
well, again, my concern is that this be collaborative. I
Yeah.
don't think we should be telling them. I don't think they should be telling us. I think it needs to be collaborative, much as the PAC West process was. So that's my concern, and I'm comfortable with the resolution.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve in the amended format?
I will make a motion that we adopt the resolution in the matter of making recommendations to the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, the Oregon Department of Energy, and the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development regarding offshore wind energy with the two provisions provided by Commissioner Hunt.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. On to item number 2, an order formally accepting our agreement with the state for a 2-year, $1 million homeless grant. I would like to offer a few opening comments and then hear more from Administrator Tim Johnson. Late last year, the word went out through the Association of Counties and League of Oregon Cities that this pilot program would be an agenda item for the state legislature, and that they had set aside $8 million to fund projects in 8 regions, and people were invited to submit letters of interest, and 14 jurisdictions sent such letters, and the work group that I put together very quickly to submit a proposal for us, that was one of the 8 applications actually hired. So actually selected. So in terms of moving forward with this now, the money, frankly, we're not sure exactly why the state sent it to Health and Human Services, but Director Jane Romero volunteered that they could handle the fiscal management and reporting requirements of the grant. And I've been working with Administrator Johnson over the past few weeks, and we're going to have a general meeting this afternoon at Newport City Hall to come up with a structure to implement the grant, which really focuses on development of a 5-year plan and really much stronger collaboration between local jurisdictions and our local community continuum of care, which in this case is Community Services Consortium, to hopefully better use existing resources and leverage new resources. Mr. Johnson.
To that point, Commissioner, thank you. Yes, you did this quickly, and some 35 community stakeholders were engaged with you in this activity. And so it's evidenced in the fact that you're one of 8 counties statewide that have received this acknowledgement. This is an important effort and one of our top priorities. And for the next year, staffs from our different departments from HHS and planning and county administration will be engaged in this.
And what we have proposed, a memo that's been shared with the invitees to this afternoon's meeting, is 2 contract positions be created, non-benefited contract positions to be paid for by this grant money. There are a lot of different aspects of this work under the umbrella of the bill, and we thought that this would be the most effective way to carry out these requests. And Mr. Johnson and I will jointly supervise those employees if we end up going that route for implementation. Comments, questions?
I have one question. So
Yes.
on our agenda, it says House Bill 4123 General Fund Homeless Grant Agreement. I'm assuming that's the state's general fund. Is that why it says?
Correct.
Okay. Yep. That's my only question.
I have no questions.
Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve this grant agreement.
I'll make a motion that we approve a grant agreement for House Bill 4123 General Fund Homeless Grant Agreement for Lincoln County.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And thank you for your work on that, Commissioner Hall. It's good for our community.
Yeah, I hope so. I really am hopeful. I think all of us have been involved in efforts, across the whole spectrum of issues that county government touches. And one of the key lessons, I think, from almost every situation, maybe every situation, is you get more done with cooperation and collaboration than trying to chart a course on your own.
It's back to Commissioner Hunt's point about our BOEM resolution. Yes.
Bingo.
Yep.
The only thing I would add is I think it's an important first step. So
Mhm.
good work.
Well, thank you. Next up, agenda item 6.3, ARPA funding requests. And I believe Mr. Johnson is going to walk us through this item.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is carrying on from our June 3rd meeting. At that point, we had reviewed the application request by category that is in front of you this morning. You had multiple questions. As such, we've answered part of those. Health and Human Services had made a request for Power DMS software. They had acquired that in advance of the request for ARPA money. So they have withdrawn that. That is the reason why it is highlighted on the application request by category. Additionally, you had asked me to reach out to the departments to ascertain whether they had any interest. There was no one else that showed any interest towards that particular software. In the context of also that, there was a question on high wall cubicles as a part of the facilities updating in departments for COVID. That was approved by the U.S. Treasury. As I read to you their response, which approves that. There are two other departments that were interested in doing that because of the closeness of their personnel and operations. Actually, three, I apologize. It was the clerk, the assessor, and the treasurer. And between the three of them, estimated cost is about $50,000. The third request that was asked was, again, and it was answered on the third recall, it was related to the ability of a software program requested by the animal shelter to enhance online purchase of animals.
I would just note that we adopt them. We don't purchase them. But yes. Okay. Yep.
Adoption. Let the record reflect adoption. And as such, that software did do that. So we were identified there. Mr. Campos in parole also identified that he needed radios that interface with one another. He had very old radios and has made a subsequent request of $32,000. That was in addition to. And then something very important that arose during this process, and it is allowable, was a discussion that occurred amongst the M team related to the digitization of public records. Two key departments that need this assistance are both the assessor's office and planning. And of course, as you all know, if we look across their parking lot to the building where planning is located, their second story is located with unique, single-oriented type of documents that have not been scanned and provided within the context of our own policies to ensure that they're safe and secure off-site, as well as having those hard copies. An estimation of cost for that was $350,000 to perform those activities, to get those public documents digitized for us, which will take probably a better part of a year to achieve. But this is exactly what the American Rescue Plan Act is meant to do. And I think it's a very important element associated with it. As you can see, the amended request for the ARPA is at 5.1, just a little over 5.1 million. We have 9.2 million, so we still have a fairly large remainder that can be applied as such, there is no impact on the general fund on any of these actions. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you.
For me, not questions, but just observations, I think hopefully to help put this in perspective for the public. There are some relatively big ticket items in here, such as $1 million allocated for infrastructure development for the new animal shelter. My understanding is under ARPA, we couldn't we couldn't apply those dollars directly to the building itself. We already have some money set aside for that, but this is a perfectly allowable use, and by making the area around whatever site we eventually land on stronger, having a stronger infrastructure in place, hopefully that stimulates some economic development and growth around that site, correct?
That's correct.
Another is a $500,000 allocation through public health, partnering with Samaritan Health for the remodel of a home they have acquired to provide both residential and outpatient drug and alcohol treatment. But a lot of these are, software, hardware, office furnishings that I think they don't generate excitement among the public, but really I think people should know that this will allow employees to do their jobs better and more efficiently, and hopefully in many cases also, such as the digitization of the records you spoke of, also provide better access to the public for various types of information from the county.
Yes, Chair, that's correct. And there's about 36, 37 different requests, and they are to help improve the enhancements and efficiency of the operations of the county. But there's also related to the issue associated with the people that we serve and our customers. Let me give you an example. Commissioner Hunt had acknowledged this at the meeting on the 3rd. There is the issue of digitization of the notes by the grand jury that will occur through the ARPA. So that helps those people who volunteer their time for us at the county to participate in that activity. And that helps improve the speed and enhancement of which those notes are taken during the grand jury process. So that's a significant issue. In the context of issues also that help our community, there is an analysis that's being done on broadband and broadband speeds and support. I think that's very important as we move forward and look at our community becoming more economically diversified and sustainable. I think that will help us immensely in setting forth a positive direction and path for which we can take moving forward. There's a discussion on childcare services. If you didn't all see the article over in Barron's magazine from last week, the incredible cost that parents across the United States are now enduring as it relates to what COVID has done to childcare services and how we as a county need to help and ensure that there is a strong group of providers and that parents can get their children into childcare and get into childcare that they can afford. I think the obvious is when the cost of childcare on a monthly basis is as much as rent, it really forces a lot of issues. And so looking at these solutions.
If you can find it to begin with.
Yes, if
which
you
is
can
a
even find
big
it, that's
issue
correct.
here. Yeah.
So there's a variety of different things that reach out directly to the community. One of them that I think is so very important is the Elk City Water Study, which is, I think, is a significant element. We're looking at their infrastructure and how they get water to that part of the county. So there are equally as many projects that go out to our community and our customers that we serve, our residents.
Questions or comments from my colleagues?
Just the comment I would make, I'm glad to see the digitization of public records in there. For one, I think it just hugely improves accessibility to the public because you can, help yourself and see those records. And while it's an initial investment of time, I think ultimately it does reduce staff time, as again, the public can help themselves rather than needing to come in and have staff look up or show them that document. So I'm glad to see we're moving that way, because also it's 2022 and it's time to have stuff be digital. So I'm glad we're doing that.
And
No
what's so-
more unrolling the parchment scrolls. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Are they
time.
parchment Or are they stone?
Yeah, probably
Uh,
both. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, to that point, commissioners, I think what staff was looking at was that the ability for the customer or resident to be able to go online at no matter what time, what hour, what day, be able to acquire that information and be able to support them reduces the time that our folks have to address that issue, and at the same time, be able to accommodate our customers. So that, I think, is really important for us.
Okay. Commissioner Hunt, any questions, thoughts?
No, I think the many positive aspects of these funds or how these funds will be used has been highlighted. I would just add that as Administrator Johnson's already indicated, we've got a total of 9.2 million. So that leaves us roughly 3.7 million that will develop a process, and I expect we'll be looking to public entities, private agencies for their suggestions as to how these additional remaining funds could be spent. And I think that's an important final step or it's an important process.
And quickly, if I could, following up on that, unlike so many government grant programs where they want you to have the money out the door yesterday, that we have time to be, I think we've been very thoughtful in this phase of the process, but we have time to be thoughtful in subsequent phases as well. What's the absolute deadline for spend down?
So thank you for asking that, Commissioner. In the context of this, it is December 24th, has to be allocated.
December 24th of this year?
I'm sorry, December of 2024.
Oh, okay.
That's December of 2024.
Okay.
And then through audit, we go until through 2026. So we need to make sure that everything is spent, concluded by then.
Anything else from?
And I would like to
Yeah. Oh,
add
go
that
ahead.
it
Yeah.
is important that we recognize that if in fact this pandemic raises its ugly head again, we have ability to be able to respond with the money that have been provided to us. So sometimes you have to look at this, as Commissioner Hunt identified, there's opportunities for working with our community stakeholders, certainly, but also be understanding that maybe we too have to look back again at how to address the public health issue that may impact us. And I don't know what they call it today or tomorrow. I know that there's some changes with this thing called the monkeypox, but if that should erupt, these would be dollars that would be allowed for that purpose too as well.
Can you use ARPA funds for a crystal ball? Because that might be,
Yeah,
it'd be helpful.
right.
Yeah.
Certainly. So are we ready for a motion or?
Well, I'll make a final comment.
Okay,
Being
sure.
a banker and a math guy, if the public were to look at the 9.2 million and subtract the 5.1 that this item addresses, it really leaves 4.1, but we've already spent about 400,000 prior to this process,
Correct.
which would reduce the 4.1 to the 3.7
Yes, sir.
for clarity.
Okay. So a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ARPA requests as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you to our team for bringing us to this point on the process. Next up, we have a couple of discussion information items. I'd like to invite Eric Knudsen and Jamie Mason of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue to come forward. I will try to present some, again, framing the issue, the information we have at this point. And recently, there was a successful recall election, removing 2 of the board members of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District. Subsequent to those results becoming public, a 3rd board member resigned, and it went under Oregon statute when a special district board does not have a quorum to operate. It's the responsibility of the county government to make an appointment to bring the membership up to quorum level, and then it would be the duty of the reconstituted board to fill the additional vacancies. Now, when we were talking about this in our staff meeting yesterday, we asked Mr. Miller to make contact with the clerk's office on a couple of things. And one of them was the fact that the results of the recall actually will not be certified until Friday, the 29th, 5 p.m. And of the 2 recalled members, one has submitted a formal resignation, but the other is not, is our understanding, even though he's not participating in board activities. Casey, were you able to verify that with the clerk's office?
I don't recall, Claire. Dana responded, there's only 1 position, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, we need to get clarification on that unless other staff is familiar with that issue. But so it looks like sooner, hopefully rather than later, we will need to make an appointment to the board. And so we've got, I think today we need to discuss timing of that appointment and also process. 6 letters of interest came into the fire district's office and have been forwarded to us. And then in the last 24 hours, we've had 2 more letters of interest submitted to us directly. So does staff have anything else at this time?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Kristen Yule, County Council. I just want to go over, so the process is under ORS 198-320. And you're correct in that when there are multiple vacancies, no quorum, you would fill 1 vacancy if that would bring the board up to a quorum, and the district would fill the remaining 2. Historically, we have had an application. My recommendation is to put an application up on the website, decide on a timeline. The individuals that submitted their letter of interest would also apply with this application. Of course, letters of interest can be included, and then just decide, the time that you want to accept applications, and then a process for reviewing them.
So I guess I have a question regarding the legal aspects. If the individual that has been recalled has not resigned, does the board still not technically have a quorum?
So until the election results are certified, nothing is official. And
Okay,
so they
so-
are still on the board until the election
Okay,
results
so
are certified.
Again, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but I think it's an important point.
Agreed.
Really, we wouldn't be in a position to appoint a member until either the person that's been recalled resigns or until after the vote is certified by the clerk, which would be 5 p.m. on Friday, the 29th of June.
That's correct.
Okay.
Gentlemen, would you introduce yourselves and for the record, and again, what you'd like to present to us at this point?
Sure. I'm Jimmy Mason. I'm the fire chief for Central Coast Fire and Rescue. Beside me is Eric Knudsen, who is lieutenant with Central Coast Fire and Rescue and also our maintenance facilities officer. We brought this in anticipation that on the 29th, we will fall out of a quorum when the election results are certified. We have postponed our public hearing for our budget to the 30th so that we can, after appointment, have a quorum and approve our budget to get it to the county on time for the budget process requirements. At this time, you are correct, until the second person who is recalled resigns, they are still technically in a quorum. However, we do not have any meetings between now and the 29th for a quorum to do any type of business. So whether an appointment's made today or if it's waited till after the 29th, we're just trying to make sure that we can get our budget completed and turned in. That's our priority.
So that's the main urgency and wanting to see a quorum restored as soon as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Commissioner Hunt.
29th of June.
That's a Friday, isn't it?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Because I was worried about timing. We have to make a decision that technically wouldn't be in effect until 5 p.m. Thursday night. That does leave Friday, the 30th. Okay, thank you.
So we,
For June.
Sorry?
The 29th is a Wednesday.
Oh, oh, okay.
Board meeting.
Ah.
so we.
Where's my smartphone with my calendar?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. a
We've
Wednesday.
brought this forward at this time to make sure that you have time to go through the information as we have with the ORS and special districts of Oregon. Because we know that you only have so many meetings between now and the 30th as well. So the timing factor on this, we're just trying to make sure that there's enough time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Kristen, and then I have a question for them. My question for you is, so that is on a Wednesday, the 29th, and we typically meet at 10 in the morning. So could you legally make an appointment based on a provision of the certification of the results, or would you need to come back and do that the following day? How
You
would
could
that
do a
work?
special meeting on that Thursday.
Okay, so we would need to
I
wait
would.
until that actual day.
I would recommend, waiting.
Okay,
I'm
I
sorry,
would recommend waiting until the certification happens.
until it's certified. So that would be after 5 p.m. on Wednesday.
Okay.
yeah. So Thursday morning, maybe a
Have a
special meeting.
All right.
Okay. Could we still on our Wednesday board meeting, like go over applications or, okay,
Discussion.
okay, so we could go over applications and talk to people that Wednesday meeting and then actually do the appointment Thursday. Okay,
So if we're working under that kind of a compressed timeline, do we want to actively submit more applications?
It's gonna have to be
Pardon me?
probably at least Tuesday by noon. or something.
Okay. Does that, she's suggesting
So a
Tuesday
timeline
noon
for
as a deadline.
Application decisions or application timeline.
Oh,
Tuesday
it'd
by
be
noon.
Tuesday, the
Tuesday the
28th?
28th.
28th.
Okay. If that would give everybody time to review all applications and then we could have public discussion at the Wednesday morning 29th meeting.
I do like the idea of an application. I mean, timelines in terms of getting that together.
So
might
we
be a little
have
tricky.
I have an application that
Oh,
we could
great.
send out and
Okay.
post today.
All right, so maybe Mr. Miller can get that out today.
And also Chair, Dana says that this appointment term will end on June 30th, 2023.
Okay, so it's essentially a one-year appointment and that would be the cycle for filling the position by election.
That's from Dana.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. And then I had two questions for both of you. Thank you for being here today. I guess in terms of, soliciting people to step in and, there's been several people already having interest. I guess what I would like to understand is, to really get somebody that knows what they're stepping into and has that time commitment. What is the time commitment? How many meetings do you typically hold? How long are those meetings? And what's kind of the prep time that someone needs to be fully on board between meetings or read materials or whatever?
Yeah, so the regular scheduled meetings for the board is every third Thursday of the month, and they typically last between 1 to 2 hours on average. Occasionally, there'll be a special meeting or a workshop as needed per the district's operations and business. So at a minimum, you're looking at 1 meeting per month for sure. I would say that typically I don't see too many months where there's more than 2 meetings at most. It would be nice to see somebody who has, a background in local government and an understanding of the nation's fire service. But in this case, with the requirements that we've been able to find, they have to be just a district member. So,
Elector.
So could I recap? And I think what kind of process we're looking at and tasks is Council Yule, you said you would be willing to contact the people who have already sent letters of interest and ask them to do applications. Is that correct?
I can work with Mr. Miller and do that.
Okay, and I will forward you both. Well, I think Mr. Miller already has the two letters of interest that have come into our office in the past 24 hours. So, and then also we'll get something on the website inviting further applications with a deadline for that of noon on Tuesday. And then we will have further discussion of this matter at, I guess it'll have to be a discussion information item because we won't be in a position to make the appointment yet, but next Wednesday's regular meeting, have this as a discussion information item. And then on Thursday, the 30th, schedule a special meeting to make the appointment. Is that correct as far as everybody is concerned?
Yeah.
yeah, I really want to see a singular, consistent process for this because traditionally and in the past, it is normal for the district to ask for letters of interest that would go to the board members for appointments. Obviously, having a non-quorum is not something that happens very often.
Right.
And thankfully shouldn't be. But in this case, this is what happened. And so we would like to know, the links and the process for getting people to be able to apply for those positions. But also, I think I'd like to request on behalf of the remaining board members that when applications come in, that they get access to those applications to review them as well. And therefore, if any of the commissioners would like to ask of the remaining board members any of their opinions, they'd be able to provide them as needed.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Can we share those applications, Kristen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're technically, are they a matter of public record or is it up to our
And it's gonna-
discretion?
No,
I mean,
and
our
it's gonna be,
decision.
and it will be shared on,
Discretion, that's the word I'm looking for.
it'll be shared on Wednesday.
Okay. I would ask that Mr. Miller communicate to all 8 of these people in the same manner. I think it's important that they all get equal notification, and by equal, I mean the same media, whether it be, well, I think we need a written record too. So I think probably an email to all 8 of these individuals copied to either Council Yule or Administrator Johnson would be appropriate. But I think it's important that all 8 of them get the same notification that they will be required to complete the application that is being provided by the county in order to be considered. I don't want there to be anybody that says, oh, gee, I submitted a letter. So I think it's important that it be very clear that if you're interested, you need to complete the county application, and we need to receive it by Tuesday, the 28th at 12 o'clock noon.
Yeah, I would just add to what you said, Commissioner Hunt, that besides these people receiving that notice that, a full press release goes out, because there may be others besides the 8 that are maybe interested or what have you. So, yeah. And I would hope that one of you or both of you can come to our meeting next week, Wednesday. I think that would be helpful, and it is public, so that remaining board members are welcome to come as well. And we're in a hybrid state, so they can be online or whatever. But I think them being here either virtually or in person as we go through those applications would be helpful to them as well. So they can be here.
And could I suggest just maybe that would help expedite the process, because we are on a tight timeline here, that maybe prior to next Wednesday's meeting, that each commissioner individually, I'm sure will have reviewed the applications and letters of interest and come in with at least a tentative ranking of candidates. And then perhaps during the discussion, we could see how much agreement or convergence there is.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can commit to do that.
Certainly review the applicants before our Wednesday Board of Commissioners meeting.
Okay. Everybody seems to be in agreement on a process and timeline. Any final words from you, gentlemen?
No, we're just looking for consistency and to make sure that there's not two different processes going on. That
Agreed.
two different groups of people are
Yep.
trying to follow.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. And we'll take this up again next week. Now, our second discussion and information item. This is a twice a year thing. Oregon statutes allow us to adjust fees for county government services twice a year, and Council Kristen Yule has solicited and has proposed changes to this year's fee schedule.
So
Councilor
Commissioners,
Yule.
Kristen Yule, County Council, last week you heard the initial presentation on the fee amendments. This is just a continuation of a kind of a fee that was added that is for your consideration for action that won't be until next week. So under legal counsel, we have a lot of requests for annexations of properties into, say, special fire districts. Typically, that's where we see it the most. It's a lot of staff time to do these annexations. So we looked kind of a fee comparison across other jurisdictions to see what they were charging. And so this is just an average of that we have proposing. So there are also our surveyor costs. So the second page is the surveyor's portion of this, which their time is involved in actually drafting the property legal description, which they then send to Department of Revenue for review. So that is actual staff time, which includes the drafting, the research time, and the review. So it will be actual costs based on the staff's hour rate.
Questions from the board? Okay, then we'll move this forward. for
Actually,
inclusion. Oh,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question.
Okay.
So one thing I kind of can't tell from this is this a new fee or an update to an old fee?
No, it is a new fee.
Okay.
So we've never charged private individuals for this process.
Mhm.
And so just looking at other jurisdictions, it is a time consuming process for staff.
Mhm.
So we are going to start charging a fee to recover those costs.
Okay, thank you.
Now we move on to commissioner reports. I don't have anything today. Do either of you?
Not today.
The only thing I was going to say on a personal note is today is the state 4-H archery competition
Ah.
for the little younger kids, and my son Emmett is competing, so I just hope he is doing well. So that's it.
All the best to him.
Well, in hindsight, I will recognize tomorrow, June 23rd. It would have been my father's 99th birthday,
Wow.
but he passed away 6 years ago at 93.
All right, then, it's time for public comment. Casey, do we have anybody signed in here? No. Let's see if there's anybody online. If you would like to make public comment at this time, please use the raise your hand function on Zoom. No. What about Smart Sheet input in the past 7 days? Okay.
Nobody in the room? Okay.
All right, then I think we're at the point of adjournment. So thank you, everyone. Next week on Monday, the 27th, 10 a.m., our office staff meeting, Wednesday, the 29th at 10 a.m., the Public Board of Commissioners business meeting, both being conducted in hybrid formats.